So you've come here for the truth. Well, we've got the truth and nothing but the truth. Here are your hosts, Robert A. Bianchi and David J. Bruno.
Welcome to WMTR Radio's Nothing But the Truth with your host, Bob Bianchi, Dave Bruno, a radio show and a podcast about mindset. Dave, just from something we've been talking about our last guest, something we've been doing before it was even popular, we were doing this about mindset, but we got some amazing guests. Again, it's not just about law, it's about mindset in general, but you wound up getting another awesome guest, Dave. Who we got?
Oh, without a doubt, it's Judge Carlos Moore, National Bar Association past president. He's a managing partner of Carlos Moore Law Group, a retired municipal court judge, and an author of The Five Brothers, which is a book about the journeys of successful careers in law and medicine. And the judge joins us as the 79th president of the National Bar Association. The judge and I are both active on LinkedIn. That's where we connected. And Judge, I have to first off applaud your regular content. You are out there, you are visible with all of your tasks that you have, all of the civil rights cases that you have, and all the great things that you're doing in the community. So I applaud you, Judge, and welcome to Nothing But the Truth. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me, David.
Absolutely.
Well, Judge, so just getting to know you, first of all, we've got a lot of titles here, and the book, the author of The Five Brothers, I'm assuming from David's intro that this is with respect to your siblings and the things that you've done. Why don't you tell us a little bit about the book and why'd you write it?
We wrote the book just before COVID, and actually it's four friends of mine, so it's five of us. We're not blood related, but we all have come from various backgrounds, first-generation lawyers and physicians. And we thought it'd be interesting to tell our stories, that if we could do it, others could do it as well. And so a lot of time people see the glory, but they don't know the story. I mean, some of us came from single parent backgrounds. Some immigrated from Jamaica, the Bahamas. And so we just had various stories. One was the product of a divorced home and still became successful. So no matter what your station in life, if you put the mind over matter and believe that you can succeed in life, you definitely can succeed and exceed all expectations.
You know, it's funny, in New Jersey, where judges and prosecutors are appointed by the governor. So it's a big job, but it's a political job to get very hard, coveted, especially a prosecutor's job. And I tried for many, many, many years and became very, very disappointed in many junctures, and had tried to do everything I could to be the most qualified person, but being the most qualified person isn't necessarily the person who always gets the job. But eventually that reality became truth. But I always said to people that asked me, because it was always like, what is the mythology? How did you do this? And I'm like, honestly, I just kept going and going and working and working. And even when I thought it would never happen, I have to go back to that old phrase that chance favors the prepared. It sounds like something that you could resonate with, and I could tell by you shaking your head. Can you talk to me about that?
Yes, I tell young people all of the time, success equals preparation plus opportunity. You get success when you're prepared, but there also has to be an opportunity. I could have never been a judge had there not been an opportunity. I prepared myself to become a lawyer over 22 years ago, almost 23 years ago now, and never really wanted to be a judge, but an opportunity came up available. And one of my friends became mayor of a city, and he desired to appoint me as judge. And so I accepted the appointment when he got the votes on the city council to get me approved. And then another city needed a judge, and they asked me to become the first African-American judge in their city. And so I obliged as well. But had I not gone to law school, passed the bar exam, and been ready, prepared for that opportunity that eventually came decades later, I would have never been a judge.
Yeah, I want to just bounce off that idea, because I want to go back to my experience and also analogize what you just said. I have to be fair to our audience, because we talk about, chance favors the prepared, and if you keep working at it. But in my battle, if you will, there were 10 other people who wanted this job that were in consideration. And so one person gets it, but 9 people are disappointed. There is a point in time where you may need to let go. But I liked what you just said a minute ago, because even though you may need to let go, maybe you need to do that, doesn't mean that there's not another opportunity that's going to open up as a result of you letting go and then going where, in my opinion, God wants you to be. What do you think?
I believe that. And sometimes delay is not denial. Sometimes it's just not the most opportune time. It may not be God appointed time, but that does not mean that in the near future, a position may not become available. I wanted to become the 75th president of the National Bar Association. Most people don't know that. I desired to become the 75th, but God saw fit for me to become the 79th. I had to run 3 times to win, but I was not going to give up because I felt that was my calling, that was my destiny. Had I given up in 2016 when I ran, or 2017 when I ran, I would have never become president, but I persevered. So another key ingredient to success is perseverance. I knew that was my destiny. I knew it was my calling. I felt that God had led me to run for the position, so I did not stop running until I won. And it had never been done before in the National Bar Association. Other people had given up after the second run, and people that had run more than 2 times had never won. But I saw myself in that seat, and I knew that if I continued to run, I would eventually win. And when I ran in 2020 in the largest election ever, I won by a landslide. And so that was my time, and I could not have served at a more important time, I believe. So that's a God-appointed time for me to serve, and that's when I served.
Yeah, Dave, that whole perspective also, that I'm not going to let somebody else tell me that, but we've never done it that way before. It's never been done that way before. We talk about that all the time.
Oh, without a doubt. I mean, there's a couple highlights from the book too about, struggles. Struggles are going to come. They are inevitable. I don't care if you're a doctor, you're a lawyer, or you're in some other profession. We all know, the 3 of us, they're gonna come. Right? So how do you prepare? And on top of that, how do you be resilient? And Judge, I know you have a message to send to people going through the struggle, going through the challenges. What are some pieces of advice you could give for that person that says, yeah, that's me. How do I get to the next level?
I believe what's been important for my success is having a strong faith in a higher being. I believe in God. And so that's been key to my success. I always believe that if God brings it to me, he will see me through it. And I do believe there's no battle that he cannot conquer, that I can't conquer with God on my side, because with Christ, all things are possible. That's the way my parents raised me, and that's what I believe. And so there's no mountain too high, there's no valley too low that I would not be able to successfully transverse. I do believe with God on my side, all things are possible. And so being faith-centered has helped me. And then just never giving up. That to me is not just a saying. If you never ever quit, you will eventually win. So many people lose because they give up too easily. And it does not matter how many hurdles I have to overcome, I will continue to fight until I succeed. That's how I do it with my law firm, my practice. When I'm fighting on behalf of my clients, I'm going to give it all that I have. And we expect to win.
I'm going to make a prediction, Dave. Okay. The past president worked hard to get there, beat conventional wisdom, law practice, former judge, achieved a lot of success, talks about God. And when I hear those kind of elements in a person, I also know that person, in my humble estimation, has a lot of humility. And I think that this is something that I like to talk about, because I see people that get positions of power. I had one where you're making life and death decisions literally over people's lives. And I found it to be a very humbling experience and a very prayerful time that I would contemplate and pray, am I doing the right thing or not? In other words, it wasn't about me. It was about what is the bigger mission outside of myself. I see that lacking in a lot of politicians and people that have positions of power today. Do you have any insights into that?
Yeah, I do believe. I always heard an axiom growing up: the power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts. Absolutely. And so power can go to certain individuals' heads, but it's up to us to remain humble, know why we get into certain positions, that we are there to serve and not to be served. So many politicians or leaders get it twisted, and they think they are there to be served and not to serve. And so when I was on the bench those 6.5 years, I considered it public service. I make a lot more money practicing law than I ever did serving on the bench, but it was a public service that I did not mind doing part-time. And I tried to do unto others as I would have done unto me, no matter someone's color, creed, race, orientation. Anyone that came before me got a fair shot. And I was known for giving second chances. If someone deserved a second chance, I tried to have mercy. And I think a judge's job is not only to dispense justice, but to show mercy at times, at the appropriate time. And so I think when we have positions of power, that we use the backbone that God has given us and not to be afraid to stand. That was my courtroom, and I ran it like I saw fit. Despite those that may have been naysayers, everyone was not pleased with me giving folks a second chance. for whatever reason, but it was not their courtroom. It was the Moore courtroom. And I had the position. I was put there for a reason by God, ultimately. And I served, hopefully, with distinction.
Wow. It's so refreshing to hear that from the bench, right? Isn't it? Like, because one of the things that we do here as defense attorneys is educate the prosecutors and the judges about the human in front of them. And I think that's lost a lot in representation, especially in the criminal defense world. And that is, as a prosecutor, you do not know who's on the other side. You open up that file, it's police reports and all the bad guy stuff and bad gal stuff. So with that being said, Your Honor, how important is it for that side of the defendants to be presented to you so that you could make decisions that are just?
I think it's important that both sides come well prepared, have your case law ready, your facts ready, and do your best presentation. Ultimately, only one side can win, but there's two sides to every story, and it's up to the judge to try to decipher who is actually telling the truth. And that is one thing I have become I became very adept at over time, was deciding who I believe to be telling the truth and who the law, and I can apply the law to the truth as I understood it. And come up with a decision. And that's simply what we are asked to do, is to adjudicate the law, listen to the facts and the evidence presented, and then try to make a decision to the best of our ability in accordance with the law.
Okay, we never know where we're going to take these conversations. These aren't scripted things, but I love this conversation. We're going to take a quick break here at WMTR Radio, Something But the Truth. We'll be right back.
At the Bianchi Law Group, our team of former prosecutors and certified criminal trial attorneys specialize in criminal defense and domestic violence cases. When you need a law firm with courage, compassion, and the commitment to fight for you, call the Bianchi Law Group today. Welcome back to WMTR Radio, Something About the Truth. Judge, listen, I love this conversation. I think that this is something that we're going to really highlight here. It speaks to right up our alley, but I've got a question for you. I have a 92-year-old father who is a first-generation lawyer, and now I'm a second-generation lawyer. And I have a sensibility that from growing up watching him in the field, that there was a great emphasis on second chances, as you refer to them, in rehabilitating people, in not criminal claims adjusting, we would call it in the criminal system, but looking qualitatively at things. And mercy and compassion were considered pillars of the justice system, including deterrence and punishment. So you have to wrestle with these things. My feeling is, and maybe I'm wrong, maybe it's because of these phones and social media and whatever, that things have become so politicized that the language that we're speaking right now about the backbone of doing what's the right thing, giving people second chances, has become so politicized that we're losing this. Are we losing it, or is it just seem that way?
I think we are on a slippery slope to losing it. There is still a good section of America that believes in second chances, but then there's still another section that is gung-ho on being tough on crime and does not want to factor anything into the equation. They just want to be tough on crime and send everyone to the slammer, find everyone, and just show how harsh they can be. But that is not, I believe in the Lord's Prayer. And I ask the Lord to forgive me my debts as I forgive my debtors. And so that's the prayer that we pray. Forgive us of our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. And so if you're going to ask God Almighty to have mercy on you at times, because none of us are perfect, I believe it's up to us to have mercy on people that we feel, those in authority feel are deserving of mercy. And my program was not just quite blunt mercy. It was something that was earned. It was called the Do Better ASAP program. It was Do Better Alternative Sentencing Accountability Program. So they had to meet certain metrics to garner my mercy. And so if they met my metrics, then they got the mercy. If they did not meet my metrics, did not jump the hurdles I asked them to jump and come back and report, they didn't get the mercy. They had to earn it. And so I gave them opportunity to prove themselves, to show that they were deserving of this second opportunity. And when they did, they kept a clean record.
Yeah, and I feel as a prosecutor, you're judge a little different, but as a prosecutor, some of the greatest memories or things that I'll take away with me or things at the end of my life that I'll be proud to say I was a part of was using the criminal justice system, if you will, to actually rehabilitate an individual who turns around and says, you saved my life. I mean, there's nothing more rewarding than that. Right, Dave?
I agree. You know, that was the best job. And we were together. Bob was the head county prosecutor. I had the opportunity to try a lot of cases when I was there, and we left. We're on the defense side. You know, and that's the criminal justice system at its best. Two sides battling it out, bringing these issues to the court, as you said, the fact finder and the finder of law, so that, you know, we could have a just system. And we've been talking a lot about LinkedIn on our show. That is how we connected, Your Honor. And as I said at the beginning, you do such a great job of being visible out there. And I happened to notice one of your posts that said, we have to stop asking so much of our elders. It is time for Generation X to take the torch. And I believe that too. I think there's a lot of opportunity for leaders to step up. And I'd ask you to articulate on that comment.
I believe what precipitated that comment was our current president, the 46th president, President Biden. He has done, in my opinion, a yeoman's job, but he is ailing. I mean, he's past 80 and he's becoming more and more frail every day, and we can see it. And we were asking this man to run for re-election and to continue to fight for us in this country. But there was somebody in Generation X, Kamala Harris, who could actually take the torch and run for it, run the race with vigor. And that's what we need in a leader. And so sometimes we continue to ask the Octarians to continue to serve. But I mean, at some point, people have to go enjoy their grandchildren, their great-grandchildren, and they have done their due diligence for humanity. And it's time for others to take the torch and run. They have the strength, because the Bible tells us he calls the young for one thing because they're strong. He calls the old because they're wise. We can use that wisdom sometimes, but sometimes they don't have the vigor that they need to fight certain battles. And so I believe it's up to us that now have in the prime of our life to take the torch. Sometimes the torch is passed and sometimes it's taken. And it depends on how God leads us. Do we allow it to be passed or do we take the torch?
When you're running for president, Judge?
I simply want to continue to serve in whatever capacity I best can serve, and I will follow the leading of the Lord and what's next down the line.
I just think it's refreshing to listen to, and maybe it's because we're hearing what we feel is an inspirational message of being outside of yourself, humility, wisdom, intelligence, strength, and wanting to do good for others. I just think we're desperately, I mean, just listening to you, I'm like, next to Andy Griffith, this is the best thing I've listened to in a long time. Because I'm telling you, these TV shows I'm watching, we're in the news media. We comment in the national news media all the time. We stay away from politics, but it is just absolutely depressing. And so it's very inspirational to listen to how you think. And I like to think that maybe you're right, more think like you do than less.
I also didn't hear a no.
I didn't hear a no.
I did not hear a no
Yeah.
from the judge. Judge, let's talk a little bit about the LinkedIn, because I'm trying to sell my partner here on the opportunity of connection with the professionals on that particular platform, and you probably do it best. One of the best of all the lawyers in the country, Judge. You are at the top of the list. Tell me why you picked that platform and how you use it for connection.
It was not by design, to be quite honest. I've always enjoyed social media. It's just been a hobby of mine. But I did notice once I became a judge, it seemed that I just instantly got more followers on LinkedIn. And people were more inclined to hear what I had to say. And so when I started doing the Do Better ASAP program, I wanted to try to replicate that across the country, or inspire other judges to do the same thing. And so I knew I had to talk about what I was doing. If people found it interesting and they were in similar positions, they may implement it in their courtrooms. And just so happened on LinkedIn, one of the Walmart executives saw some of my posts, and they had a program where they could fund something for a nonprofit or whatever to do this and train other judges to do this. And so I was able to apply for the money. They told me how to apply for it, and they gave $1 million to the National Bar Association and the National Judicial College to train other judges across the country to do something similar to what I was doing in my courtroom. And so had I been, I guess, shy or not as vociferous as I have been, no one would have known about my program in little bitty Clarksdale, Mississippi. But because I had a platform, I think I have probably close to 70,000 followers on LinkedIn and another 40,000 on Facebook. I was able to spread the message and people were able to share it, and it just goes like wildfire. And people that are knowledgeable or people that have resources beyond mine were able to pick up on it and then support the endeavor. So I was appreciative, but it was never by design.
Well, it's pretty amazing.
It is.
Pretty amazing. The power of it. I mean, we talk all the time that we have so many opportunities. I got to be honest with you, it gets me a little worn out to keep posting things. I wonder if it's like a law of diminishing returns, and sometimes I feel it's more of an ego project than it is something that's valuable. But I know that if you have a good message, it should get out there. And Dave is trying to. He's going to start a series now, teaching Bob to do all the things that he does, because it's to me it's daunting. It's even if it's a good message, it takes a lot of time.
Yeah, the thing is, too, I mean, technology is changing by the day. I mean, it is, to be relevant, to stay up, you can't just watch all this pass by, because people will fall behind in any career, any profession. I mean, so the reason I am stressing LinkedIn is because, look, I'm on all the other platforms. I'm on TikTok, I'm on Facebook, I'm on Instagram, up in YouTube. It's all over the place. But LinkedIn is the place where the professionals work, where the professionals could connect. And it has such a great opportunity to search out people by geographical areas. You could link up with personal injury lawyers. You're doing civil rights. We applaud you for that. There's tons of different cases in the press on that. But where do you find civil rights lawyers if you need one, right? LinkedIn, easily, with a simple search, finding the judge. So I think for anybody listening that has any reluctance in getting into LinkedIn, LinkedIn is very different. It's for the professionals, and it's a nice, soft landing spot for people that want to stay up. And I see you, Judge. You're doing a great job. The messaging, how do you continue the content creation, the post, the regular post? As you hear from my partner here, he gets tired of posting every day.
I usually just get inspired in the moment. I keep up with current affairs, and then certain things I share with my personal life. I think people like to see a human touch. You can't be all business all of the time, so people see that you have the same, you enjoy the same activities they enjoy. And just add the personal touch to it. But then they see that you're very serious, you're very knowledgeable about what's going on in current affairs, what's going on in the judicial system, and you're not afraid to speak to it. And that's one thing about me. I am not afraid of any man in shoe leather. I will stand up to any man that puts his britches on one leg at a time, just like me, because I do believe that I'm entitled to my opinion, and I'm not afraid to share it. And right or wrong, I'm going to give you what I believe, and I'm going to do what I think is right. And at the end of the day, I have a moral compass that I'm going to follow. And that's what keeps me on the straight and narrow.
Britches, Dave, or pants, just in case you...
I know.
I just want to make sure, because you're the younger generation. Anyway, Judge, listen, we have to go. It was a great interview, but where can people find you? And how can they get your book?
The book can still be found on Amazon. It's The Five Brothers, Our Journeys to Successful Careers in Law and Medicine. So that's easy, and I'm all over the social media world. My website is www.more.com. I can be found on Instagram under Judge Carlos Moore, Carlos Moore on Facebook, Attorney Carlos Moore on Esquire Moore on Twitter. And of course, you know how to find me on LinkedIn as Attorney Carlos Moore, formerly known as Judge Carlos Moore on LinkedIn.
All right, I'm going to link up with you, Judge. We'll see you on the LinkedIn.
All right, please do.
All right, Judge. Awesome interview. Really appreciate it. This is WMTR Radio. It's Nothing But the Truth. Bob Bianchi, Dave Bruno. Radio show is Saturday at 9:30. Dave, the podcast, please.
NothingButTheTruthPodcast.com. We are recording video with the judge, also audio. And after it runs on the radio, we're going to be dropping the audio into all the podcast platforms out there, including YouTube, with a video series. NothingButTheTruthPodcast.com. Judge, absolute pleasure. Thank you for your time. Thank you for coming on Nothing But the Truth.
Thanks for having me. Good to see you both.
Great.
We're the Bianchi Law Group, a team of former prosecutors and certified criminal trial attorneys.
But here's the thing. He put himself in a box when he said,
Relied on by CNN, Fox News, MSNBC, Law and Crime, and news leaders across the country for our criminal defense expertise.
In a search warrant, you have to have probable cause that a crime's been committed and there's evidence in a particular place.
When you need a law firm with courage, compassion, and the commitment to fight for you, call the Bianchi Law Group today.